And greetings and salutations from the beautiful city of Augusta, Georgia, where if you don't like the weather, just wait 15 minutes. It'll change. All right, so this is our fourth video that we're doing. If this is the first time that you've seen the video, you might have to go to YouTube and put in Scott Hudson, Gardening is Easy, or Scott Hudson, Angry American, and you'll find the other videos that we've talked about how easy it is to have your own big garden. But there are a couple of things that, a few hacks that I didn't include in the other ones that my wife pointed out, like the good wife she is, that I ought to mention. First thing is, when we were talking about fertilizer and things that you can throw directly onto your crops, I mentioned coffee grinds. I didn't mention eggshells. Eggshells. When you have your eggs Benedict in the morning, or your scrambled eggs, or whatever it is, take the eggshells, scrunch them up, and throw them directly onto your plants. That calcium goes directly into the soil, into the roots, and those plants love it. Okay, the other thing is birds. We all love birds. There's nothing better than waking up in the morning and seeing a cardinal or a bluebird out there, but they can wreak havoc on your garden, especially if you just planted seeds. So one thing that I have found is that these little things that you can buy at any of the hardware stores, a cake, you put them way away from your garden and the birds will flock to them, but the squirrels can't really get to them. You do that, you can enjoy the birds, and they will stay, well, hopefully, out of your garden. All right, the next thing is, once your plants, your crawlers and your tomatoes especially start growing up, you're going to need to contain them. There's two reasons for this. Number one, tomatoes, they love to be lumped in together. They share the heat, and they share the nutrients in the soil. And so instead of going and buying those expensive metal stakes, just anything that you can find around your house as a stake, and then a little bit of twine, you can group them together. Now, in terms of your beans, your cucumbers, even watermelons, these things right here, you can buy them at Lowe's for like $1.50, something like that. You put those down and they'll crawl all over it, especially your cucumbers. That's a very good way. It's cheap. You don't have to buy the expensive stuff. Now, let's go to seeds. Always buy more seeds than you need. And the best place to buy seeds is your local farmer's market, Tractor Supplies, places like that, not your big box stores. Now, I'll tell you, I go to Lowe's and Home Depot and I buy the little packets of seeds, and they're good. But the best seeds are going to come from an actual feed and seed store. Now, when you get your first harvest, especially things like corn, tomatoes, cucumbers, take some of your really good ones and cull the seeds out of them. Put them on with the ones that are wet, put them on a paper towel, let them dry out real good, and then label them. Trust me. Keep them in a place like your garage that not a lot of sunlight, not a lot of humidity. Let them dry out real good, but also label them, because when you go to plant them again, you will forget what seed is what. Let's see, what else did my wife tell me I needed to, oh yeah, okay. Rainwater. We're about to get some rain here in Augusta, Georgia, and I'm going to be putting out a bunch of 5-gallon buckets to collect the rain. You can water your garden when you're going through a period of kind of, no rain, but the water coming out of your tap has got chlorine, fluoride, all kinds of chemicals in there. All of the good nutrients in the water is taken out. So collect rainwater. And that brings me to the final thing that I want to say in this video, as the angry American, not the gardener, and that is, there are some places, counties in America, that say that you can't collect rainwater. They fine you for doing it. And you know what? Now that we're in the midst of this whole coronavirus mess, we're having to deal with, especially in Georgia, our governor just kind of opened the state up and said you can do what you want with certain restrictions. We're having to balance civil liberties and public health. For a government to tell me that I can't collect rainwater, no, I'm sorry, I ain't dealing with that tomfuckery. Now, I am somebody who's got a medical condition. I've got a compromised immune system, so I'm not going out in public. I've got an 84-year-old mother-in-law that I'm taking care of, and she's got respiratory issues. She is not going out in public. We're taking the government's guidelines very seriously. This is serious. This is a pandemic. But the government's not going to tell me that I can't collect rainwater. The government is not going to tell me that I can't go fishing. And the government is not going to tell me that I can't go to the store and buy seeds. And you know what else the government is not going to tell me? They can't tell me that I can't garden naked. They just can't do it. You know what? I've got a fence around my property, and when I want to garden naked, I do it because I don't want people to pity me for my endowment. But the vitamin C is good for me, and the government's not going to tell me that I can't do it. There's a very, very fine line between civil liberties and public health. And folks, we got to have that conversation when this virus pandemic is over. But for right now, don't be an asshole and go out there and go to the restaurants and bars and follow their guidelines. But don't let them take your civil liberties away, because they will, and they can, unless we stop them. Y'all be safe.
Sorry it's so shaky, everybody.